Welcome to Clean Beauty Scene. I'm excited. This week I have an incredibly special guest, Tressa Harrington, who happens to be my best friend for many years, as a matter of fact. We actually met in preschool, but we've been friends since kindergarten, and we are both on the other side of 50. So that gives you an idea of how many years. So I'm excited she's going to tell us about her story. You know, right now we are in the middle of October, which is breast cancer awareness. And I always say awareness is great. Prevention is what the focus is. So Tressa's story is incredible. And she has some advice and knowledge and wisdom and enlightenment on breast cancer that I can guarantee you haven't heard yet. And I mean, I certainly learned a lot, you know, hearing about her story and everything. And luckily she's healed and on the other side of it. So we'll get right into it. But real quick, I do want to remind you guys that I have openings for my group program and my one-on-one coaching program. So the link is in the show notes. If you're listening on any podcast app, or if you're watching on YouTube, it'll be in the comments, or you can just go to kellybonanno.com/bodyharmony. And you can have, you know, you can get in the group program, or you can get the program and get one-on-one coaching from me. I have both options. And if you're watching this in real time, next week I have a free Kick the Sugar 3-day challenge. So you can sign up for that too. That's kellybonanno.com/sugar smackdown. And if you're not listening in real time, check it anyway, because I will, you know, I run it periodically throughout the year. So I'd love to help you guys kick the sugar habit. All right. And with that, welcome, Tressa Harrington. I know, right? We've been talking about doing this like literally since, and you know, I mean, I just would love for you to share your experience, your story. And so this was 2019, before the crazy 2020.
Yeah, and thankfully I was able to get all my treatment done before the crazy started.
Yeah.
So I was about 6 months late in getting my mammogram. Maybe had I gotten it when I was supposed to get, you know, the cancer might not have grown to the size that it did. At any rate, 6 months late, go in, get the mammo, had to come back and do another one with an ultrasound. And then they wanted to do a biopsy because there was something there. And this is when I learned about microcalcifications versus macrocalcifications. And if any doctor tells you that you have one or the other, ask questions about it. Because I had had calcifications since 2015. And they just said, oh, we just have to keep an eye on it. That's why we did the ultrasound. But no one ever explained to me what they were, or, you know, what they could lead to. Yes. So when I went in 2019, when they did the ultrasound and they found that the calcifications, they were called microcalcifications. And that actually also showed up on the mammo. And they look like little sprinkles of salt. And you think they're harmless, but those are actually worse than the larger calcifications, which are macro calcifications.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I imagine because they're more spread out, so you can't target them as much.
I don't really know the biomechanics of why the larger ones are not more dangerous than the smaller ones, but that's something I should ask my doctor. But that's an interesting point. So at any rate, the right breast, they did the biopsy and I got the results 2 days later, and I had breast cancer. I had what's called ductal carcinoma in situ, which is in the milk duct, which typically is stage 0. It's really not terrible. I mean, you want to get it out, but mine had broken through the skin and gotten into the actual tissue of the breast. So I had ductal carcinoma in situ, and then I had ductal carcinoma outside of the breast. Now my left breast was completely fine, no problems, nothing. I will say that my entire life, whenever I was getting my menstrual cycle and PMS and cramps, the right breast was always much more sore and had a lot more, you know, not
tenderness, in the glands seem swollen.
Yeah, really sore. Anyway, so yeah, so I had basically, now it was not stage 0, it was at least stage 1, if not maybe stage 2. So immediately, you know, got my team together, a surgical oncologist, a medical oncologist, the whole thing. I will say this. Oh, and then I found out that my cancer was estrogen receptor positive. So yeah. So most cancers, breast cancers, at least 2/3 of all breast cancers are ER, estrogen receptor, or PR, progesterone receptor positive, meaning that they are fueled by estrogen. And I've always been estrogen dominant. I've known that for a really long time. But again, I should have asked questions. I mean, maybe I should have been put on an estrogen blocker as soon as I hit menopause, who knows, whatever. But I've always been estrogen dominant. And, you know, as you discussed, there's so many phytoestrogens and food and beauty products and all the stuff that we consume. So it just
Right there, it's coming
exacerbates.
at us. We have the natural, our body could be overproducing
Right.
naturally. And then we're putting lotions and makeup and stuff that have those endocrine disrupting hormones that are creating. Yeah, that's exactly. So
Yeah.
such a big part of why I've been so passionate for so many years of
Yeah.
let's not put that stuff on our body because yeah.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned that you kind of knew you were estrogen.
Yeah.
How did you know? What I mean, what
Well,
gave
I've
you
had,
the-
I've had, you know, I had tests and stuff like that, blood
Okay.
tests, and uh, they can do like a saliva test or whatever. But I've always just sort of made more estrogen than progesterone. You know, for a while there in my 40s, I was taking tinctures to bring up the progesterone level, lower the estrogen level, you know,
Yeah.
that was fine. But the other thing that I noticed before I had the second mammogram, and that was the diagnosis came in August of 2019. But in like March or February, I started taking a supplement called boron because I have I have osteoarthritis and I have some autoimmune conditions. So it was helping tremendously with my joint pain and my wrists and my fingers. And it was like, wow, this stuff is a miracle supplement.
Yeah, I remember.
And yeah. And so I don't know, about a month or 5 weeks into it, I was working out on my Pilates machine and I was just in so much pain with both the breast, but really the right breast. Like I was like, what is going on here? This is awful. It's never been this bad.
I
And
remember.
I thought, you know, what am I doing differently? You know, and I thought, well, I'm taking boron. And so I go look it up and it says, do not take it if you are on hormone replacement therapy for menopause. It highly increases your estrogen intake. So I thought, oh my gosh. And so I instinctively kind of believe once that I got the cancer diagnosis that it helped to grow whatever was there. It sped it up. It definitely sped it up.
Yeah,
So yeah.
that was just an incredible discovery.
Yeah.
And the fact is, there are so many supplements that have
Yes.
the same. And in supplements, you know, there's a great place for many supplements, but a lot of us are maybe taking too many. Maybe, you
I
know,
was.
we don't. Do we really know? Does the doctor really know? And some of these little hidden underlying things, who would know?
Right.
It would be, you know, cause an estrogenic response.
I have to research everything now. Like,
Yeah.
you know, ashwagandha has estrogen in it, colostrum, like there's so many,
Yes.
milk thistle. Okay. So like milk thistle, even in the Susan G. Komen cancer website, it says for women not to take milk thistle who are cancerous.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's a
because-
common one. I
Yeah.
mean, I bet that's going to shock people. Yeah.
They can take milk thistle extract. It's like in a dropper form, but
Okay.
not the actual milk thistle. So I just have to forget it. I'm not going to take it anymore.
Yeah, not worth it.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of things that I was taking that I probably should have been taking, you know, because now my supplements are way down. I only take a few a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I say keep it simple and
Yeah.
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 So at any rate, yeah, so I had to have surgery. They thought maybe they could do a lumpectomy and then radiation afterwards. And then I started researching and I went on to a couple of group pages on Facebook with other women like all over the world and their stories and this and that. And I thought, you know what, it can come back really easily. And I've known people who like the one breast was removed, but the other one stayed, and then it came back 3 or 4 years later. You know, so I thought I just take them. You know, just take the bad one and take the good one. Insurance covers it. You know, just do what needs to be done.
Yeah.
So had the surgery. that was fine. Then they, they do the biopsy of the tumor, and they, tested the pathology of the tumor. It's called an oncotype score, which determines whether or not you're going to need chemo. So anything over 25 is considered high, and you need to do chemotherapy. So mine was like 27.
I remember that. You were like just so close.
Just so
to not
close.
needing it.
Yeah. So, I was like, well, is it like chemo light? Can I do like a like a short-term chemo? And so that's what we ended up doing. I only had to do 4 rounds, which is really nothing compared to what a lot of women have to go through. 16 rounds, 12,
True, but it was still rough. I mean,
it was still rough. Yeah, it was still rough. I certainly was not looking forward to they have the advancement now, and all of the, I didn't have any nausea or anything. They put so much stuff into your drip that, it's, your nails get brittle and dry. And yes, I had some hair loss, but fortunately I was able to do DigniCap, which they freeze your head before, during, and after chemo, so that the hair follicles don't fall out as easily. So I lost, you remember, I was wearing but
that was incredible. I mean, you really, you really barely lost any hair. I mean,
really, I lost about 30% on the top, and I had some bald spots and some back here, but that was no big deal. So,
and you had to wear that. So it's a cold cap, right? They call it the DigniCap. Yeah. And so you wear it before and during, and your treatment is several hours. It's like,
so the actual drip, the chemo, they give you the pre-meds, like the Benadryl and all the stuff, so that you don't and that did happen the first day. My mouth started to close up.
Oh,
they immediately stopped and gave me more Benadryl. But so at first mine was plugged into a machine. It's like a large refrigeration machine, and this cap goes, you can't hear anything, and it's actually pretty uncomfortable.
And it's literally freezing. Like
like when I would finish, there would be ice on my head.
Oh God. You are a champ. Seriously, not many people could endure that. You've got a high threshold.
You'd be surprised what you will do to save your hair.
Yeah.
But so
not all doctors offer that option either.
No, they don't. In fact, my first oncologist, they didn't do it anymore, and then I found another one. So I was like, well, that's huge, because this is gonna, if you're not doing it, I want to go to a place where,
definitely.
Yeah. And obviously insurance doesn't cover it. It's not cheap, but and if I had to have done more than 4 rounds, I probably wouldn't have done it. I would have just bitten the bullet and gone through it. But at any rate, so then I finished the chemo in January of 2020, and then I had about a week off, and then I had to start radiation. So I had 28 rounds of radiation on the cancer breast, because I had what's called extranodal extension. I forgot to mention, sorry, after the surgery, I had lymph node involvement. Yeah, so he took out 5 lymph nodes up in here, and 1 was positive. And I forget the term, but it's like, you can see in that lymph node, you could see the cancer, as opposed to not under magnification. Ooh. So that was like, oh, okay. So this was really trying to make its way into the rest of my body, which was a little, shocking and scary. But he cut them all out. I had a good surgical oncologist. So everything was taken out.
And how do they test to make sure, like, okay, that's gone, and there's no.
They take out, I guess, to where the imaging, you have to have, there's like, you have to do the with contrast, without contrast, all the MRIs and the scans. And the day before my mastectomy, I had another test, and so they put the dye in, so it gives them an idea of where to go and what to cut out. So but even though it was in the lymph, in the lymph node, the actual, even my medical oncologist said to me, I'm surprised your oncotype score came back at 27, because your cancer is lazy. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's interesting. But she's like, we really should hit it with the chemo, just in case anything like got into the body, whatever. And I
just a little more insurance, like
just a little bit more, a little
more, a lot more actually. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then I didn't have to do radiation. Like the radiation oncologist was like, it's up to you, da 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 da. And he said it's only going to lower your risk of recurrence by, I think it was like 12 or 13% or
Mhm.
something to that effect, because I already took it out. They already did chemo, but
Yeah.
I thought I don't want to not do everything I can do.
Everything you can. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, then I finished the radiation middle of March of 2020, and then all of a sudden, COVID hit, and a lot of people weren't getting their treatments, which is really unfortunate.
I mean, that is, I know it's just devastating. That was one of the biggest blessings, is that you literally finished like that week.
Yeah.
And I remember also, when the onset of this whole thing, you didn't want to be in any kind of medical facility for any reason, because
But I
yeah.
know that my oncologist, she said to me that they had to give some of these women the estrogen blockers, which I now take
Hmm.
as a preventative to reduce the risk of
Yeah.
distant, metastasis and recurrence. And instead of these women being able to get their surgery or chemo, they were put on the blockers, which is just it's not enough. Apparently that's what, happened to Shannon Doherty. She wasn't able to get her surgery right away, and they put her on the estrogen blockers, which
Oh,
it can shrink the tumor, but it's not going to go in there and, it's not like getting it cut out or
yeah.
it with chemo, so yeah, that's the last thing you want to do when you get it.
Yeah.
And I was stage 2A. My cancer was stage 2A. So I was like 1 point away from like 1B or something like that.
Mhm.
Yeah. So so now I take it's called an Astrazole, and a lot of women have a hard time tolerating it. In my Facebook group, a lot of women said they can't take it. It's it makes you really tired. It increases joint pain,
Oh,
which it did with me again with the joint pain. But yeah, it reduces your risk of recurrence. And then I have to get bone infusions twice a year. Some women take a pill. I have a friend who she takes a pill every day, but this is a newer treatment. It's called Zometa, Zomeyta, and I get it twice a year, and it's like a 30-minute drip infusion to protect the bones from osteoporosis, because the estrogen blockers can
wow.
facilitate osteoporosis. Yeah. So,
Wow.
and also the Zometa also reduces the risk of recurrence or distant metastasis by like another 9%, because it protects the bones from potentially the cancer coming into the
Okay.
spine or wherever.
That's good.
But yeah, just get your mammograms, don't put it off, ask questions. If you're told you've got calcifications, ask, what does that mean? Does that mean it's going to turn cancerous? Are they large micro, or are they macro? Like, just ask questions.
That is such, I mean, life-saving advice, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we hear stuff from our doctor, and you just kind of trust. And especially when a doctor says, we'll watch it, don't worry.
Right.
You want to just, okay, because you don't want to think the worst, but you really do have to sometimes dig and, well, what does that mean? And what is, and we have to be our own advocates. That's
Big time.
I mean, the doctors just, yeah. So other than, of course, yeah, mammograms and also ultrasounds, like especially when you have dense breasts, for many years, my gynecologist never recommended an ultrasound. And my new gynecologist, thank God I switched. She's like, you have dense breasts, you need to get an ultrasound too. And so now I get both, because
So many. Everybody has dense breasts. Everybody that I met who's got I have dense breasts. I'm like, I think we all have dense breasts.
I know
there
it really
absolutely
seems
should
like
be ultrasound after mammo. Absolutely.
that's what I say. Like, no matter what kind of breast you have, you should get both. Exactly. The problem is it's not completely covered by all insurance, but your health, these preventative things, they are an investment in your health and yourself, and really prevention and early detection. It's the number one thing.
Well, I was really surprised when I was in this Facebook group, and I kind of don't. It served a tremendous purpose for me in the beginning, but I don't want to sometimes go back, because there's some awful things, and you don't want to take all that in.
Right. Yeah.
But I will say that I was really surprised at how many young women were getting it. I mean, women in their 30s, women who had kids.
Yeah.
You know, I was just so stunned. So it's like, what's going on? You know, I mean, to your point of all of the toxic stuff that's in, you know, I mean, we're constantly being bombarded by it.
Exactly. From so many different
Yeah.
levels and sources, and a lot of it you can't control. I mean, you know, things off gas from furniture and flooring and buildings. The you know, environment inside our homes and our offices is more toxic than outside. That's why I always say open your windows as much as you can during the day, a good air purifier, and also
I
using
need to get an
clean.
air purifier that.
Yeah, it's a good thing to do. And using cleaning products and because whatever you're using in your home, and then you're breathing stuff in, not burning. I mean, there's so many things. And you guys listening, you know, in fact, I'll put in a link. I have a free guide to detoxify your home, and that really helps. And then I also have a free guide to clean your beauty routine, because it is overwhelming. And I know it's like, well, what do we use? There's so much greenwashing and misleading information. So, and then a lot of these xenoestrogens, so they're these chemicals known as xenoestrogens. That is what increases this estrogen dominance and, you know, leads to the breast cancer. And then there's obesogens. Many xenoestrogens and obesogens are obesogens. Obesogens mess with your metabolism and increase weight gain and you know, increase fat cells. And so that's, you know, a lot of women come to me for weight loss, and it's like, okay, well, let's reduce your toxic load, because that could really help your metabolism too. I mean, yes, we do nutrition and all that too, but yeah.
It's very true, because even my oncologist said to me, because I said, you know, I said, well, should I get a hysterectomy too, just to make sure I don't have any more estrogen? She's like, you're not making estrogen from your ovaries anymore, you know, because it's totally menopausal. And she goes, you're making it from your fat cells. I was like, whoa.
Yes.
Okay.
And toxins.
Yeah. And it's true. I mean, I know for myself, once I hit menopause at 50, I literally, like, my last period came a month before my 50th birthday. It was like, that's it. And the weight started coming on. I started to get a gut, you know, it was like, oh my gosh.
Okay, but you guys, you know, whether you're watching or listening, Tressa's gut is somebody else's, like, you know, after picture. She's very slim.
Well, I mean, I was an ex-dancer.
You've always, but you know what? Like I always say, no matter whether you have 5 pounds, 20 pounds, 50 pounds, it's about being comfortable in your own skin, your own body, fitting into the clothes you want to fit into. So exactly. But yeah. But yeah, to your point about women getting diagnosed earlier and earlier, same with heart disease. You know, I did an article last year on heart disease. Younger and younger women are having heart issues, but same with these cancers. And yes, we live in a toxic world. And then there's, you know, chemtrails, and there's
chemtrails. Yeah.
I mean, there's so many things cause the food and water supply. There's just, you know, so, but it's like, it's scary. And you know, I don't want to scare anyone, but just, so don't focus on what you can't control. You can't control the chemtrails and certain things, the stuff they're spraying at your parks, you know, and what you can control is stuff you do in your house, things you're using on your body, and getting the, you know, your mammogram, your ultrasound, the prevention,
diagnostics, you know,
yeah, exactly.
Not putting it off like I did, you know. It's like, it was so strange, because I was never, I don't know what I was thinking that. I'm like, oh, I just have calcifications, whatever, the same old thing. And you know, oh, my breasts are dense, you know, but wow, this time it turned out to be cancer, you know, it turned out to be cancer. So I was also lucky, not that this is TMI, but he was able to save my nipple, which was nice.
Yes.
The left breast I knew he was going to, because I had no cancer in that breast. But yeah, he wasn't sure if he could, but he did, which was nice, because at least there's symmetry there, and I didn't have to do that tattooing, which a lot of women, you know, have to do. Yeah. So you know, that was a nice little surprise, you know.
Yeah.
You know, it was a tough journey. I had some complications with the surgery. I had to have emergency surgery the next day because I had a hematoma.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. And I passed out. Yeah, because there was so much trauma to the breast, and it's actually not as uncommon as you think. It happened to my husband's sister. and she just had a lumpectomy, and she also got a hematoma. Luckily,
Really?
they took her in right away. In my case, um, I didn't know, it was like 4 o'clock in the morning, almost 24 hours after my surgery, and they're helping me, walk to the bathroom, and I look down, I'm like, I'm bleeding. And I go into the bathroom with this amazing Jamaican nurse. She was so great. And I go to the bathroom and I sit down to urinate, and all of a sudden I like break out in a sweat, and the room starts spinning.
Oh,
And I get up, I pull the cord, and she came in immediately. I said, I'm fainting.
oh my God.
And she caught me because I could have hit my head on the.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The next thing I know, I'm in my room, and the lights are on, and I'm tilted. They're trying to get the blood to my head, and I'm hearing screaming and shouting and this and that. And I came to, and then I had to have an emergency surgery for him to clean it out, and then I had to had transfusion that day because I had my hemoglobin had dropped. So, that I want to scare people. Then it's common-ish to get, depending upon how much trauma is done to the breast. And, left breast was fine, but it was, but just, again, just to be on it, ask questions. Like, if you do have to go in and get, a mastectomy, ask about, how likely is it, could a hematoma build up? And, it's just, whatever pre-advice I can give somebody who may be starting this journey.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I'm sure those people listening that have a new diagnosis or, maybe right in the middle of their journey or want to do what they can to prevent. I mean, that's the name of the game.
Right. I mean, I don't know much about ER negative and PR negative. The negative, it can be a little bit trickier to treat because they can't go on the hormone blocker after everything's been taken out and chemo and radiated and whatnot.
Okay.
So I know it's called HER2 positive.
Oh yeah.
ER negative, but HER2 positive. So I was ER positive, PR positive, HER2 negative.
Okay.
So yeah. Which seems to be like probably more of a common diagnosis than the other.
Okay.
Than the HER2 negative. I forget I can't remember what HER2 stands for. I know the drug that a lot of the women take is called Herceptin, which apparently has been very successful with a lot of women.
Yeah, and I remember I'm no expert on this, but in my research I've written some articles on prevention. In fact, I can drop a link to my latest one on that. Certain lifestyle things that you can do to prevent. And but I remember there's different things that can contribute and cause the HER2. Yeah, I don't know what, so I'm not gonna.
Yeah. I mean, I used to know this a little bit better a couple of years ago because of course, when you're in it, you're
researching
everything, and then I learned a lot from women in the Facebook group, from women who were like in the Middle East or in Europe, like what their doctors are doing. And, and then they explain stuff like and it's when you're in one of those groups, not that that's something anybody wants to be in, but everybody's doing the abbreviations and this and that, and it's like the new member like, wait, what does that stand for? And and then people will answer you right away. I mean, it is very supportive, and I do recommend, if you do have a cancer diagnosis, breast cancer diagnosis, those groups are supportive. I mean, you can ask questions and you'll get responses from women all over the world.
Yeah, I do remember you mentioning that. And are there any in particular you'd recommend, or?
Oh, the one I was on Facebook was breast cancer journey. There was two, and I can't remember the other one. But you could just type in like breast cancer groups, and it'll bring stuff up.
But I do know what you mean now that you're sort of you're on the other side of it. Sometimes taking in some of the real dire stuff. Yeah.
Right. It makes you go, okay, I don't want to know that.
And you don't want that to absorb that into your subconscious. And same, I had joined, I have Hashimoto's, which is the autoimmune of thyroid. And I had joined a couple groups in the same thing. Like because of my lifestyle and what I do, and of course, medication I take, I am luckily, thankfully, don't have a lot of the bad symptoms. I've got certain things, but I've got it mostly under control. So when I hear some of that stuff, I don't even want my brain to even say, oh, well, this could happen or not. Yeah, you just
Because then you go on it.
keep it all positive.
I've done that. I've definitely done
Yes.
that. It takes you down. So, I come back to God and I
Yes.
pray for strength and, and I get it, I trust. So, but yeah, you still have to get your screenings and stay on top of it. And,
And another thing I've heard, and I'm guilty, I've been bad of this, they say that monthly self exams.
Yeah.
And I try, but I've always thought, oh, but it feels lumpy. When I do that, I'm always like, what's that? What's that? This, but what I have
my
heard.
mom had cystic breasts, so
Yeah.
I've had them. That's what I meant to say. During my period, when my breast got so sore, it's all that cystic
Yes.
stuff. Yeah.
I had that too. And also during my pregnancies, oh my gosh, my boobs never hurt so much. It's like, the minute I was like, oh, I'm pregnant, like, yeah, pregnancy and then before period. But they say just so your breasts. So that way, if you feel something different, but it's still.
Well, I remember when I was, okay, so here's the thing, because I was feeling too, so when I was 38, I think you remember this, I felt a thing here and I didn't have insurance at the time. And I went in and paid, out of my single girl salary to have a mammogram and an ultrasound done. And it was a moving cyst and it went away. But it was a scare, and it was here. It was like right in here. So when I was going through this pain in 2019, March, whatever, I was feeling here. Like I was like, well, I don't feel,
Yeah.
And so, but my tumors were right here. And so there was two of them and they were right next to each other. So they didn't feel like lumps. It just felt like tissue. And when I first went to see the surgical oncologist, who was super arrogant, but you kind of want that in a surgeon. Yeah. He did have a sense of humor too, but he's like, oh, there's your little friends right there. And he took my hands and pushed in. I was like, oh my God, I never would have figured that out on my own. Because I think when we do, it's so important to really like milk ducts are. They're right there. And that's where there's more of the ductal carcinoma, but because I had that lump or whatever the heck that was when I was 38, I was feeling here. And I didn't really know what, I didn't think I felt anything there, even though that's where the pain was. That's the other thing that's interesting. Yes. They say that, oh, cancer is not painful. Oh my God, this was so painful. I couldn't even go to sleep on my stomach.
I remember that.
Yeah.
That I remember of all the things was the most significant to me. I've heard this for so many years that, oh, well, if it's cancer is not painful and you had so much pain. That's another thing. You guys listening and watching, if you're multitasking, pay attention to this. Yeah. It can be painful. And that was something that has always stuck with me ever since you told me that. Yeah, I forgot about that. And that was very significant. Yeah. Yeah. But then again, you can have pain. I mean, the cyst can be painful too. I'm not saying that, but it was pretty bad pain from what I remember.
No, it was so bad. That's why I was like, what am I doing differently? And that's what, like, my wisdom that, well, I'm taking boron and I can't, but right. Because what happens is when you have estrogen receptor positive cancer, I mean, we all have cancer cells going through our body, and we even through our breasts. Yes. We do, and our body fights them off. Right. But when you have estrogen dominance, then the cancer cells glom on to the receptors. They glom on to the receptors in the breast, and that's how they multiply. Well, not multiply, but make a tumor and grow. Yeah. I remember my doctor, when I got the results back, he's like, "Well, your left breast is perfect. It's in the right." And that was the breast that's always been susceptible throughout my whole life. Yeah. It's always more tender and sore. So yeah. But yeah, pain was definitely a big thing. Like it was bad. Yeah. So
wow. Well, I mean, it's like, every woman's, it's all on our radar, always. Yeah, always. And it is good that there's a lot of awareness but awareness is great, but it's prevention. It's just, there's little things and habits you do for your lifestyle that's going to prevent all the cancers and heart disease, and just
Right.
help you feel your best. And that's really the name of the game.
Yeah.
And
ask questions, if they tell you
yes,
something you've never heard before, whatever,
yes,
and they say, oh, you have dense breasts, you ask, well, what does that mean?
right.
Am I higher risk? Do I need to get mammogram? Like what should I go on something to lower my estrogen, since I've been estrogen dominant for so long and I'm in menopause now and it's only going to get,
Yeah,
and I see all this stuff sometimes in my Facebook feed of these estrogen patches and this and that, and get rid of your, and I thought, how many women are falling prey to this
I
and don't even
know.
realize that they're adding estrogen into their bodies, and potentially, and they're always geared and targeted toward menopausal women. And it
Mhm.
is, I mean, it's basically, it's HRT, it's hormone replacement therapy, just because it's some patch.
Yeah. Oh my
It,
gosh, I know.
yeah.
And this stuff is not regulated.
It's
It's
not.
awful. I agree. I'm glad you brought that up. That is such a good point. And the truth is, with diet, when you balance in your blood sugars and your insulin, then you're going to be balancing your hormones too.
Right.
That's
Right.
another reason. Like, women come to me for weight loss, and that's great. Like, weight loss is a side effect. What we're going to do is balance your hormones and get your insulin level going. So, your body, yes, will be in fat burning, but you can also not be spiking things and
Right.
enhancing the hormonal response. But still living a little, there's no restriction.
Right.
Like,
Right.
you gotta just, yeah.
But here's another one too. Testosterone converts into estrogen. So I was on testosterone cream there for quite a while.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So I mean, I was doing like boron, testosterone. I mean, I was basically, it's like amazing that you know, I mean, I was definitely doing things, because a lot of menopausal women, their doctors give them testosterone. They don't tell them that it converts into estrogen.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
you're doing something that's completely, what's the word I'm looking for, opposite
Counterintuitive to what
counterintuitive. Yeah,
to
yeah.
what you
It's like,
really,
oh,
the goal.
testosterone, male hormone, is going to make me thinner, and in reality that might happen for a while, but then it's converting into estrogen.
Yeah, that is a
And I mean,
great point.
estrogen is important to maintain weight, because it does. Without estrogen and cortisol and all that stuff, we do gain weight, and that's what happens in menopause. And so,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, you don't want to be taking stuff that could increase your risk of getting breast cancer.
Exactly. And that is, you guys, if you take nothing away, so many of these, and that's, these powders and supplements and
Yeah.
things, and a lot of the multi-level marketing things, and nothing against, I'm not saying that
Right.
multi-level, they have their place. There are some decent ones, but a lot of them are not, not really scientifically proven, and you really need to do your own homework. And that's really the bottom line.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Research, do your diagnostics, ask
And
questions.
know what you're taking, know what you're doing.
Right.
And
Is there something preventative, so that I don't have to worry about these calcifications in the future? Should I,
yeah.
ask those questions? I wish that I had, because it's like I said, in 2015, it was the first time I was told I had calcifications, or maybe it was even before that. And it was like, oh, okay, well, like I should have like, what does that mean? Does that mean I'm at a higher risk to getting breast cancer? I mean,
Yeah.
maybe on some level I didn't want to know because I was afraid, but
Well, exactly. When they're not alarmed, you're like, okay, well, I'm not going to worry.
right.
And that's,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
So it's completely natural. And things happen as they should. I mean, and then I sometimes think, okay, okay, you didn't get, you were what, 6 months late, but you know what? Maybe if you were on time, it wouldn't have shown up. And then a year later, it would have been even more advanced. Who knows?
Right. Right.
Who
knows? Yeah. Who knows?
I remember my sister. So my sister, well, Chrissy,
Yes.
she had breast cancer. God, it's been almost 2 decades now. So she was
I
diagnosed
know.
when Joey was a baby, and he's 19 now. God, I mean, can't even believe. Now she had a lump. Hers was very similar to Cheryl Crow's. And so she had the lumpectomy, and luckily she's been, healthy
Right.
and cancer free ever since. But I remember her saying that she was a little bit late too. And it's like, well, you know what?
Oh,
Maybe if you weren't, it wouldn't have been grown enough for them to detect. And then
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I think everything happens when
Yes.
God plans it to
Yes.
happen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I made it to the other side, and here we are.
Yeah. And you're feeling great, looking amazing. I mean, now if we could just end this pandemic. Ay, ay, ay.
Ay, ay, ay.
Well, thanks, dude. This was awesome.
All right, dude.
Right, dude.
How long was that?
I know we were going for a while.
I know.
So I'm gonna ask you the same questions that I ask all my guests, my little rapid fire and end of the interview questions.
Oh, okay.
All right. So the first question, I know the answer to, but well, maybe you're a little bit of both though. Dog person or cat person?
Oh, doggies.
The doggies.
Yeah, the doggies.
The doggies. Dwayne and
Dwayne, my big Dwayne. Maybe outside the door.
Yeah, let's see Dwayne. He's so cute. Oh, such a sweetheart. Oh my gosh, he's so big. I can't believe you pick him up. Oh, he's so cute. Hi, buddy.
We did big boy.
I gotta bring Coco in here.
I know you gotta bring Coco. I'm Dwayne.
He's such a sweet boy too. Coco's buddy. Coco's bodyguard.
Totally.
Yeah, so whenever we go away, Teresa always babysits Coco. So Coco goes with the big dogs, and we take him to the beach, and
Coco pushes Dwayne around.
Yeah.
Coco definitely wears the pants.
Well, Coco, he's little, and so he's got the Napoleon complex.
Totally.
Oh
All
man.
right, what's the next question?
And then morning person or night person.
Yeah, well, I think we know the answer to that too.
And of
Night
course,
owl.
I know the answer to this one.
Night owl.
She makes me look like a morning person. I mean, yeah. You're as deep of a night owl as they could be created.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh man. And if you could leave listeners just with one piece of advice, the thing that really moved the needle the most in your health and wellness journey, and like your non-negotiable.
My non-negotiable. Listen to your gut. Listen to your gut, and then don't deny your gut.
Yeah.
Like I knew I was on my Pilates machine, and I remember just saying to myself, oh my God, I just want them out. Like I had this, I can't handle this pain anymore.
I remember that.
Yeah. So, and then I thought, well, it can't be cancer because it's, it hurts, but it just, my gut was like, this isn't good. Yeah. So listen to your gut.
That is the best advice possible. It really is that inner voice, and the mind-body connection is so powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why breath work, a little meditation, prayer, it really does help you connect. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. And thank you all for listening and watching. This is good. And you guys, let us tag us on Facebook and Instagram. Let us know what your biggest takeaway was, and be sure to check the show notes. Love to see you, help you one-on-one or in the group, and see you in the sugar detox challenge. And when I say kick the sugar habit, I don't necessarily mean give up all sweet treats. Kisses from Dwayne. There are healthier alternatives that do not destroy your health and spike your blood sugars, and of course are not, sugar is fake sugar either. So we're going to learn all about that in the challenge. All right, you guys, stay healthy, be well, and be present.